Today's session is titled Three Ways to Teach Vocabulary in the Language Classroom. Our first speaker for today is Vanita Chopra. Dr. Vanita Chopra has been an English language and education consultant with the British Council, India, since 2017 and has over 17 plus years of experience in teacher education. She previously worked as an assistant professor in the teacher education department of Delhi University Colleges. She enjoys exploring different continuing professional development activities as a continuous learner. She has authored 2 books and published research on mentoring, teacher research, language assessment, and teacher development. Her research interests include mentoring teacher research, language pedagogy, assessment, and teacher capacity building. She enjoys traveling, yoga, nature, fitness ventures, reading, and watching biopics for inspiration. Our second speaker for the day is Isha Anand.
Hello.
Isha has been an English language teacher with the Chandigarh Education Department for the last 11 years. In addition to teaching, she serves as a state resource person and has contributed to important international and national projects such as PISA PISA, Nishtha, NCERT, Diksha, NAS, and the PM eVidya scheme. She specializes in developing study materials, including workbooks and e-content, for young learners of the English language and has collaborated with SCERT Chandigarh. For the past 5 years, she has worked as a CBSE master trainer, having trained over 1,000 teachers in item designing and writing. In 2022, she received the prestigious scholarship from the British Council, as part of which she completed her MA in TESOL degree from the University of Leeds in September 2023. The floor is all yours, Vanita and Isha. All the best.
Thank you so much, Priya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priya, for the lovely introduction. I and Isha again welcome all of you and thank each one of you for joining us today. So as you can see today, in today's workshop, we would be exploring innovative ways to enhance vocabulary instruction and learn how to engage our learners effectively. So by the end of the session, we hope that all of you will be able to recognize that teaching vocabulary is an ongoing process that requires continuous strategic building and adaptation. Of course, you'll be able to discover different ways to make vocabulary learning enjoyable, engaging, and effective. In order to enhance learner motivation, you'll be able to evaluate the benefits of various vocabulary learning ways and to identify the most effective ones. And last but not the least, as Priya also mentioned previously, you'll try to adapt the newly acquired ways in practical setting, tailoring approaches to individual classroom needs. Now, before we delve deeper into our today's topic, of the workshop, let's do a quick warm-up. So here, you need to cast your vote using the link given here. So there are 3 ways to answer this poll. You can see the link. It's there in the chat box as well. You can click the link and you'll be able to access the questions. And on the right-hand side, you can directly scan the QR code. Also, the questions would be pasted in the chat box. So let's quickly do these questions. So the first question is, in a week, how many times you focus the lesson only on vocabulary teaching? 30 seconds for you to answer this. And there are 3 options. You can clearly mark the option as A, B, or C in the chat box. Okay, so you can see the Slido poll working for you. And the 31, 29%, 36% says once a week, 31% says twice a week. So it's a mixed sort of a response, that we are getting. Let's look at the second question. Again, 30 seconds for you to answer. how many words do you target to teach in a week? Get set, go. Interesting. 5 words. The majority of you are saying 5 words. Great. Okay, so all of you are targeting to teach more words in a week. Wonderful to know that. Last but not the least, what aspect of vocabulary learning do you find challenging? Again, we have the 3 options. Is it the word meanings, the correct spelling, or is it to do with retaining collocations or idioms? Great. So again, it's a mixed kind of a response. All of you have raised concerns in relation to word meanings, correct spellings, and retaining collocations or idioms. So thank you so much for sharing your responses and your perspective, when it comes to vocabulary teaching and learning. Now, to address your concerns and issues, we will move forward. Starting with, what do we mean by vocabulary and what's the need to teach vocabulary? I think we all know that vocabulary refers to a set of words known and used by an individual. So why do we need vocabulary? We need vocabulary for effective communication and understanding, right? But I have gone through, a very interesting research done by Hendrickson 2020, who says that vocabulary learning focuses on the multidimensional aspects, which implies that it doesn't just involve meaning. I mean, that this dimension doesn't just covers understanding, the definition of words, the synonyms or the antonyms, but this multidimensional approach, it also focuses on the form, which includes spelling, pronunciation. Of course, how about, the usage? It's not just important to know the meaning, but I think it's also important for the learner to apply that word, in his or her real life. So how do words function, in a particular context? And that puts emphasis, on grammar and collocations. And last but not the least, connotation. Words also carry connotations, and that implies they have emotional or cultural nuances, associated with them. So these can be positive, negative, or neutral, influencing how a word is getting interpreted, beyond its literal meaning. So keeping this approach in mind, let me just ask you, I, Isha, would like to know from you, why do you think it's important to teach vocabulary? The question is also pasted in the chat box. So quickly, if you could just answer this, why do you think it's important to teach vocabulary? Isha, as the responses are coming in, let me have your perspective.
Yes, Vanita, as a teacher, I believe for me, teaching vocabulary is important to help the students to comprehend. Now, comprehension is the major purpose, where we want the students to learn new vocabulary so that they can use it in different situations.
That's right. Thank you so much.
We have so many answers pouring in the chat box.
Yeah. Could you please share?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we have the questions, and I think the participants are writing.
Yeah, to express, to convey.
Yes, to converse, to express, to comprehend.
Absolutely.
Better communication. Yes, they're writing. Of course, it imports also to correct the spellings. Somebody's saying about spellings, well said, and to communicate, to express.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent, I think I would like to highlight, some recent research insights, related to vocabulary teaching and learning. Why is it important? So I think vocabulary act as a predictor. So vocabulary knowledge is closely linked to reading comprehension, as most of you have said, because it contributes 50 to 60%, of the success, especially when we talk about the higher grades. Next, it leads to personalized instruction, because nowadays AI is everywhere, so we could utilize digital tools, to adapt the vocabulary instruction in order to enhance the student learning outcomes. Of course, it enhances literacy, as I could see, in the chat box, because it increases or enhances the comprehension, which is important element, for academic success. I think I want to really highlight that vocabulary teaching learning. It's important to teach vocabulary because it makes the learner aware about other aspects also. So we go beyond definitions. We tend to know words that includes understanding, collocations, its usage, because that's also very vital, for language mastery. And last but not the least, comprehensive instruction. Vocabulary teaching should not just cover single word meanings, but it should also cover multi-word phrases, word usage for effective teaching and learning process, in the classroom. So well said, audiences. We are still getting, to the responses. Now let's come to the interesting part of our workshop. What are some of the ways to enhance vocabulary? Now, this question is also being put forward, in the chat box. We would like to hear from you. What are you doing, in your own classrooms? What kind of approaches, strategies, or techniques you are using to enhance vocabulary? Could you please share your responses in the chat box? Thank you.
Many responses coming in, Vanita.
Yeah.
People are saying many of them reading. Many of them say they use reading, crosswords, analogies.
Wow.
Lots of reading, of course, happening in schools, looks like, because everybody is giving us different examples of reading.
Yes.
Somebody said using context to predict and confirm.
Yeah, that's
Movies,
right.
yes.
Movies, that's interesting. Analogies, using dictionary. Okay, so let's see what we have on our plate. Answer Garden, I think most of you must have used this and must be aware about this. Visuals in context, as said by you, role play, games, and quizzes. So I think there is no one best way, we can use in our own classrooms. I think there needs to be an eclectic approach, using different ways, different strategies, depending upon, what is the level of our learners and how to cater, to the different needs of our learners in our classroom. So let's come to the most interesting part again. We would be discussing the three ways. So I think I'll hand over to Isha to talk about the first engaging and interesting way to teach vocabulary in the language classroom. Over to you, Isha.
Thank you, Vanita, for a wonderful start. So it's time to move on. So I would like to ask the audience, any idea coming up in your mind? What are we going to do today? What three ways that we consider can be used for teaching vocabulary out there? So yes, so can we have them on screen, please? So teaching vocabulary through music, artificial intelligence, and incorporating vocabulary into the lesson plan. So we'll be delving into all these three ways for teaching vocabulary to our learners. Again, I would like to mention here that all these three different ways are applicable for all the levels of learner, and we can take up any one way. We can devise it, re-revise it, revisit it, edit it as per our needs and as per a classroom requirement. So it's time to move on with the first way, that is teaching vocabulary through music. Before I begin, I want to ask my lovely audience out there, have you ever used music for teaching vocabulary? Like I was reading the answers that somebody wrote movies. So I would like to know, just write yes or no quickly. Have you ever used music for teaching vocabulary to your learners in the classroom?
Isha, I would like to highlight, I think I can also see puzzles and songs.
Yes, puzzles
Songs.
and songs. Definitely.
Yeah.
We have
Songs
the
is
audience,
very common.
yes, that have already, touched this concept. So yes, now let's understand how we can use this way in a classroom for teaching vocabulary. Here we go. So can we have it on the screen? Yes, song association, lyrical analysis, vocabulary chants, karaoke session, learner-centered songs, and real-life application. So let's first talk about song association. How do we use song association for teaching vocabulary? We connect the vocabulary words with the songs to enhance the memory. For example, when we listen to certain piece of music, we keep on recalling those words. So anything which is related to music, anything which approaches our senses has a longer retention. Also, I would like to mention here that NEP 2020 talks highly about art integrated education. So music is also a form of art. So here, this aspect of music can be used for teaching language, that is for teaching vocabulary. So by song association, we can help the learners to associate those list of words and to memorize it for a longer duration of time. Next, we have lyrical analysis. We ourselves as adults also, we have realized, sometimes we listen to a piece of music and we also try to understand the lyrics. We try to note down the lyrics. Why? It helps us to analyze the lyrics, to analyze the words used in a given set of lyrics. And also, in the similar manner, the students will be able to analyze the songs, and it will help to improve their comprehension and also the usage of the given set of words. Then vocabulary chants. Any idea about vocabulary chants? I think we all have used it multiple times. And also this technique has been used on us also. Remember, since our childhood, since infancy, we have been used to hear the lullabies sung by our mothers, grandmothers, and so on. So anything which is related to rhythm, which is related to music, has an everlasting impact. So by vocabulary chants, we try to associate the rhythm, the chants to reinforce the vocabulary through repetition, and also it is fun. I believe this way of vocabulary chants is very popular among the primary. But I will not restrict this to primary. We can use it for the upper primary, from the secondary classes also, where we have certain complex contents to be taught or some complex set of vocabulary to be taught. Then we have karaoke session. When we talk about the karaoke session, we all, the first thing that comes to our mind is karaoke nights we organize with our friends at home parties and so on. So why can't we have such karaoke session for learning vocabulary? Through these karaoke session, we can incorporate the list of given vocabulary. We can make the learners to, keep on reciting that song, reverberate that song with the help of a karaoke, with the help of a music, and this will help to make the vocabulary learning more engaging and more interactive as well. Next, we have student created song or learner created song. When we talk about learner created song, we are touching the highest level of the Bloom's taxonomy, which talks about creation. So here, what we can do, we can invite the students to create their own songs using the new vocabulary, the vocabulary that they have learned for deeper engagement. Also, we have seen that the learners, they quickly, mug up or rote learn any song sung by their favorite artist, whether it is in any language. So when we talk about learner created song, it gives them that autonomy, that freedom to create their own songs with the help of the learned vocabulary, and also to add music to it for a longer retention. Next, real life application. Such experiments with music help the learners to retain that word and to use that word into their day-to-day life, into their day-to-day conversation. Next. Now, we have to understand that how this way is beneficial for the learners of different age groups and with different learning style. First of all, we have, yes, it helps us to improve their retention, that is improve retention. So music enhances memory retention, making vocabulary easier to recall during conversation. Remember, anything which is related to rhythm. I'm repeating this thing because we ourselves have, experienced this thing in life. That's something which is related to music, which has certain notes in it, and how difficult that word is going to be, but it will be retained in our memory for a longer time. Next, we have enhanced comprehension. How enhanced comprehension? Let me explain. Songs can provide context, aiding the learners to understand and use new words effectively. Once the learner has used a word, has heard that word in lyrical form, the same word can be retained in the memory, and the learner can comprehend its meaning and can use it in different situations. Next is increased engagement. Again, anything which involves your senses, which appeals to your senses, is retained by the learner for a longer time. It increases their engagement as they are creating songs, they are providing music to it, and they are repeating it, they are reiterating the words. So it helps for a better engagement. Next, better pronunciation. Rhythm and melody in songs help the students or the learners to practice pronunciation and intonation naturally. Sometimes we feel that certain words are complex to be articulated by the learner, but when the similar words come in a flow of music, they are able to articulate it, they are able to pronounce it with an ease. So, music plays an important role in improving pronunciation, and also the learners learn with intonation as well. Cultural enrichment. Here, I would like to mention that Indian classrooms are full of diversity. And also, NEP talks highly about multilingual classrooms. So, when we say cultural engagement, so music exposes the learners to diverse cultures, enhancing their understanding of language and use. They can use that language in context. A given song can be used in different languages in a given classroom where students, where learners speaking different languages sit together. They can understand each other, they can understand their culture through music, through folks, and other oral weapons like stories or musical lyrics and so on. Next, multisensory learning. Of course, music involves the combination of auditory and kinesthetic elements through which music creates an altogether different effect, and it impacts the learners even with different learning styles. So multisensory approach is one of the approach that has been again talked highly by NEP. So music plays an important role in achieving these prospects of NEP as well. Okay, friends, now it's time to have a hands-on activity where we will learn how to use music in a classroom for teaching vocabulary. So before I begin, I want you to all of you have a look at the chat box where we have a list of questions, and you all will be listening to a small musical piece. You will enjoy a musical piece. You have to listen to that musical piece and keep it in mind the questions that are there in the chat box. So yeah, we could have it on screen now. It's there.
Thank you so much, Nova.
Okay, so friends, the activity was that while listening to this piece of music that unfortunately we couldn't play, but we have shared the link and you will definitely enjoy this. And you can use this with your learners as well. So imagine that you've heard the song, but still, I know that you are in the position to answer the question, which are very simple. First question is very simple, and I want your answers on the screen in the chat box. So the first question here was, when I feel alone or afraid and nothing is going my way. This is a piece of lyrics. The question here is, give at least two antonyms of the word alone. So you can quickly post your answers. Imagine that you have song and this line has been taken from this beautiful piece, and give me two antonyms from the given word alone in the chat box. This was the question.
Lonely, together, together,
Yes. Antonyms, remember?
group, yeah, together, group, crowded, in
Wonderful.
company,
Great.
surrounded.
Surrounded.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
right.
And thank you so much for the responses. Then the next question is, I can climb this mountain, I can brave this storm. So replace the word brave in the above sentence with another word implying the same meaning. So you just have to focus on one word here, that is brave. Quickly give me the word that can replace this word brave. You have to read in context. I can brave this storm. I'm waiting for your answers, please.
Courageous,
Great. I can
can
brave
face,
face.
overcome, meet
Wonderful.
challenges, heroic,
Wonderful.
face.
So I hope this activity is clear. And also, I've given two extended activity that you can take up in the classroom. For example, guessing the meaning of when the day needs saving. So this is a phrase you can give this liberty to the students for brainstorming. What do they understand by this when the day needs saving after listening to the song? Another thing that promotes multilingualism in classroom, that can be the best activity for this, this piece of music, is translate the given song into your mother tongue or home language. It will definitely encourage cultural enrichment, and also the learners will be able to understand each other's language. They will be able to learn new language with the help of their peers. So this is a small example how we can have this activity in a classroom where we can use music for teaching vocabulary, not from only the aspect of meaning, but different connotations, multilingualism, and so many things we can cover under this. I hope you all have loved this way, and we are again sorry for that, for the video not being played, but definitely you have the link with you in the chat box, and you can just click and enjoy this piece whenever you want to. So that's all for this first way. And now I would request Vanita to take forward the presentation with another way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isha. Unfortunately, we couldn't play that lovely song.
Okay, it
But yes,
happened.
we have already shared the link, in the chat box. Please do hear it out. Thank you so much for sharing that interesting way. I'm definitely going to try that in my own classroom with my adult learners. So let's come to the next way, which is introduction to AI in vocabulary teaching. Now, AI is everywhere, and I'm sure you must be using, a variety of AI tools, in your classroom. ChatGPT, the most common way. Yes, but before we begin exploring, one of the most effective ways, that I have explored, let me ask you, in what ways have the AI tools enhanced your own learners' understanding, of word meanings? So this question is also there in the chat box. I request you to quickly respond to this question. I mean, what about you, Isha? If you have used any AI tool, how has that enhanced your learners' understanding of word meanings?
Thank you for the question, Vanita. And I definitely believe that I've used different apps, but nowadays I'm really getting fond of one of them, which is called Meta on WhatsApp, because that's quite
Yes.
handy. And it's always there on our phone, and just at a click, we can get
Mhm.
answers to multiple questions. And also, it is very good for vocabulary enhancement as well. But I know that many multiple tools have been, emerging day in, day out. So we are excited what you have for us.
Absolutely. So let's look at, what are some of the AI tools, for vocabulary teaching. I'm just going on to the next slide. Yeah. Can you see the slide, Isha?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So, I mean, you can see it on the screen, when we talk about AI, I have been able to explore, some of these tools. So I would be delve deeper, into one of the tools called Microsoft Copilot very shortly. But before that, I would just want you to make you aware, because I could see in the chat box, not many have used AI. So I think we can utilize tools like DALL-E to create images. So with the help of DALL-E, we can create images that represents vocabulary words. So for instance, if your vocabulary word is environment, then with the help of DALL-E, you can actually create an image related to environment, and that would actually help the visual learners. Then there are a lot of AI driven exercises. So when I say exercises, you can generate customized reading passages and comprehension questions in order to suit the learner's vocabulary level. So depending upon what is the level of your learner, you can adapt the reading passages and the comprehension exercises. I think one of the interesting tool that I have explored, during the last few days is ideogram.ai. So you can generate uh, visual vocabulary flashcards and quizzes that would actually engage the learners and reinforce learning. Uh, as it was told by Priya, we are going to share the PDF of this presentation. So you would find ideogram.ai there in our presentation, and you can know more about it, when we would be sharing this presentation. But I think with the help of this tool, you can create visual vocabulary flashcards, those e-cards. Last but not the least, let's come to the tool that I've loved the most, which is called as Microsoft Copilot for Material Creation. Just a sec. It's moving slow, the PPT also. Yeah, can we?
There.
Yes, I think it is. Thank you so much, Isha, for the heads up. So what is Microsoft Copilot? So I think it's an AI empowered assistant that is integrated, into Microsoft Office, and that enhances the overall lesson planning and its delivery. So Microsoft Copilot, through by using this, you just cannot enhance the vocabulary learning. It's just a small portion. It could actually help a teacher, to design the entire lesson plan and how to deliver it, efficiently. Uh, Next, you could generate a lot of interesting vocabulary lists depending upon, what's the target vocabulary, you want to teach in your classroom. And this would be theme-based vocabulary, like for instance, if the theme is environment, or if the theme is love, or kindness, you could take up any theme, and you can generate these vocabulary lists through Microsoft Copilot. It would be very interesting also to create, content related to vocabulary focused worksheets, quizzes, and presentations. Last but not the least, you would find ready-made resources and ideas, for more interactive and personalized vocabulary teaching. These are some of the ways, you can use Microsoft Copilot, but I think it's very important to show you how you can use Microsoft Copilot. So I think step one is you need to log into Microsoft Copilot. The link is already there up on the screen, and I think Mahua can also share it in the chat box. But to use Microsoft Copilot, you need to have an account with the Microsoft, that is linked to your Gmail or Yahoo email. Next step. So once you log into the Microsoft Copilot, the next step for you is you need to add your prompt. That means you need to instruct the Microsoft Copilot, what it can do for you. As it is shown, in the space in the image, I have already, typed the prompt, at the bottom of the screen, if you are able to see that. So for an environment related lesson, you could suggest, can you suggest vocabulary words for class 5th? So if you put this prompt, into the Microsoft Copilot, it'll be, you'll get thousands of ideas, generated, and you can see which one, you want to choose it from. So in the next slide, there is another prompt, that I created. Create a fill in the blank worksheet on climate related vocabulary for class 4th. And that's what Microsoft Copilot, gave to me. Now, it's not necessary to use it the way it is, but you can always adapt. You could always modify it depending upon what is the level of the learners and what are their needs. So it could be from simple to complex or whatever. Now there was a very short video that was for you to show you, what kind of prompts, you can generate with the help of Microsoft Copilot. I mean, I would just like to try to, open this if I'm able to open the video, because even my co-speaker, was not able to do this. Okay. So by chance, it has clicked. I think you'll not be able to hear the sound. Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. We can.
So, okay. So in this Microsoft Copilot short video, you are able to see how you can generate, variety of prompts depending upon, whatever grade, you are teaching. Yes. I'm so sorry. We'll just paste the link of this video, in the chat box, so you can always watch it at your own convenience. Thank you. Thank you, Ritika. Yeah, so that was a short magic of the Copilot, but unfortunately, we were not able to play that for you. But don't worry, we have already, I think, thank you, Priya, you've already shared the link in the chat box. Okay. Yeah. So let me check your understanding, So if you want to use this Microsoft Copilot, what is the first step, you need to do? Can you share your response in the chat box? Oh, I was about to share the answers also, but no, I don't have to show the answer. So let me see. Yes, absolutely. You need to log into the Microsoft Copilot. And for that, you need to have your Microsoft account. Absolutely. Well done, audience. So you were like listening with a lot of concentration, in spite of these technical glitches, that were happening. Thank you so much. Next, what is the next step that we need to do? Let's see, what
We
you're in.
have
Yes, prompt. You need to
chat box
give and type in. I mean, the chat box is flooded,
with
with
answer.
the answers prompt. Yes, you need to give the prompt and you need to instruct. Like, it's like the game we play, with our primary learners. Simon says, do this. Simon says, do that. Similarly, you need to give that prompt, in the to the Microsoft Copilot. Absolutely. Share a prompt with the Copilot to make vocabulary teaching very simple, engaging, and effective for your learners. So I hope you have liked this simple, easy to use tool, and you can access it. It's free of cost. You can access through your phone, through your laptop, through your iPad. So I would suggest that once you go deep dive into it, just share it, with your colleague or your peer, uh, and share this experience about using this new tool. Hope you liked it. Yes. So yes, let me share some of the benefits, of using, such tools in your classroom. So I think few responses I could see was it's like very, very efficient, it saves time, and you could always customize it. That means you could always adapt uh, the responses that you get from the Microsoft Copilot, tailoring to the needs of your learners. This definitely leads to a lot of effective engagement, not just between the teacher and the learner. Yes, but it could also be between peers and colleagues, because in collaboration, they can come up with designing, a lot of interesting worksheets and quizzes, for your learners. Last but not the least, it's easily accessible, through phone, through tablet, and through the laptop. And of course, you could reach out, to a lot of learners, and this could also help in building effective collaboration, among teachers. Okay, over to you, Isha, for the last way of how to incorporate vocabulary learning into the lesson plan. And that's what teachers always, are exploring. Yeah, how to create an interesting vocabulary lesson plan.
Thank you, Vanita. Now it's time to move on with the third way of teaching vocabulary, that is lesson plans. As we know that being teachers, we cannot do away with the lesson planning. So however technology we use in the class, how much advanced we are, but we have to work through the lesson plans as well. So now teaching vocabulary into the lesson plan has been divided into different phases. First of all, let's begin to have a view. Can we have it on screen? Yes, the presentation phase. What do we understand by the presentation phase? In this, we introduce or the new set of words, or we pre-teach the vocabulary that we are going to encounter in the given context or in the given chapter. So that is introducing new vocabulary with the meanings to set the foundation for the learners. Next, we have practice phase. Under this, we connect the pre-taught vocabulary to thematic content for contextual understanding. Means in the first step, we have pre-taught them certain words or certain, a certain list of words. And then in the second phase, that is a practice phase, we connect the pre-taught vocabulary with the thematic content. Next is production phase. Under this, we encourage the repetition and varied context to reinforce retention. So this phase, we keep on giving extra practice to the learners about the learned or about the set of words they have learned. Next, we have, that is the last phase, which we say review over time. So this is the longest phase. It has no end, because once the chapter is done, once the students have learned a list of vocabulary, this phase keeps on moving on. It is a phase in which the learners regularly revisit the vocabulary to ensure long-term retention and understanding. Now, my question here to all of us is that how do we select the word? Word selection is very important thing, and word selection needs to have certain criteria or certain parameters. So for quickly understanding this, I would like to say that we need to analyze the word from two different angles. That is understanding the word from outside and inside. By Outside we means we need to understand the given word in context, means understanding the definition, its synonyms, antonyms, and also in reference to the given context. When I talk about selecting the word and looking at inside the word, it means we need to dive deeper into the morphology. It means we need to understand the affixes, the root word, the derivatives, and different cognates for English learners. Now, it's time to jump on to the two tools that we can incorporate under this lesson plan for teaching vocabulary. So the two tools we have on our screen, we have the Yawner Web and the Vocabulary Tower. Please do write in the chat box, have you ever heard these different two words, Yawner Web and Vocabulary Tower? And let me help you to understand what these different tools are that we can incorporate in the lesson plan. So first, quickly, let's talk about the Yawner Web. So what's this Yawner Web? You can have a look at this picture. Can you see this web? And it has different, areas, different sections, and how we can use it. Can we have it on the screen, please? The next slide. Okay, so when we talk about the Yawner Web, it is a visual tool to use to organize and connect different genres of vocabulary such as literary, descriptive, emotive, academic, technical, etc. It helps to identify, please remember my word, it helps to identify and categorize different genres along with analyzing and comparing them, which is very important because at times we have seen that our learners are able to understand the word, they are able to recognize, but they are not able to compare a given set of words with another given set of words. So what sort of genres we have? So there's a list as follows. We have formal vocabulary, basically used for formal writing, speeches, and professional settings. We have informal vocabulary used for day-to-day conversation, casual writings, and social media. We have technical vocabulary related to specific field, industry, or professions. We have colloquial related to cultural expressions, idioms, and slangs. We have idiomatic vocabulary related to phrases and expressions with non-literal meanings. Then we have domain-specific vocabulary, the words related to particular field or industry. Then emotive, which is very important, that is for evoking the emotions and conveying the tone. Last but not the least, we have descriptive vocabulary or descriptive genre, where we have the words related to the words which help us to describe people, places, different experiences, and objects, so on. Okay, so I hope this Yawner Web is clear to all of us. So again, it's time for a small hands-on activity. So all of you in your chat box will be able to see a small excerpt. Can we have that on screen as well? Thank you. So this is a small excerpt taken from the chapter. Any idea? Please guess the chapter if you know. Those who are taking grade 6 to 8 might be able to recognize this. This is the excerpt taken from the chapter A Short Monsoon Diary from grade 8 by NCERT. So in this, what you have to do, please go through this in the chat box, or if you are able to read it from the screen, quickly read this out, and I'll give you 30 to 40 seconds to give me a list of words belonging to descriptive genre. So you have to select the words that belong to the genre of description. So your time starts now. Quickly pour your answers.
Mist. A short mist is there. Then
Wait.
1 second. I'm just reading out the
Quick
responses.
audience.
Weather, silent, deathly,
great. Monsoon,
mist.
melancholy.
Weather.
Great.
Blankets.
Midnight, blanket, so many words are coming up. Wonderful audience. So this is a small hands-on activity that will help the learner to identify different genres. You can, again, I'm repeating that you can use this activity with different levels of learner. You can simplify it. You can make it complex as per the needs of the learner and your context. So that was about Yawner Web. Can we move on to the next activity under lesson planning? Okay, so we have with us vocabulary tower. We have heard about Eiffel Tower, so it's now time to understand what do we mean by vocabulary tower. In vocabulary tower, it's a visual representation of vocabulary levels with words categorized into different tiers based on their complexity, frequency, and usage. I'm repeating the words. Please understand complexity of the word, and frequency and usage. How do we divide them? The words are divided into different tier system from tier 1 to tier 5, different levels, and the most basic words forming the base and the most advanced words at the top of the vocabulary tower. So now we have different tier 1 is the basic vocabulary, that is the vocabulary that we need for day-to-day life, emotions, actions, our needs, and so on. Then general academic vocabulary, where we have the words related to your actions, objects, and specific terms we use in the line of education and so on. Academic vocabulary. Domain specific, again the words related to particular field or industry. Then advanced academic vocabulary, where we use the technical vocabulary related to certain professional settings. And last but not the least, we have the expert vocabulary, that is the vocabulary or the highly technical words used by the experts of certain field. For example, the vocabulary used by the scientists, by the doctors, by the engineers, and so on. So this is all about vocabulary tower. Now, can we move on with the hands-on activity? Yes, here we go. So again, on the screen and in the chat box, you are there with a small excerpt taken from the NCERT textbook. And this is chapter number 2, grade 10, that is 2 stories about flying. I hope those who are taking up grade 10 might have identified this. So this is a small excerpt, small paragraph that has been taken. Please go through it. And in the chat box, you have to give me 2 tiers, that is basic tier words and domain specific words after reading this given paragraph. So your time starts now. Can we
Isha,
have
we
some?
have black aeroplane.
Okay, tier 3.
Aeroplane,
Nicely
yeah.
said, somebody. Tier 3 radar. Absolutely
Radar,
correct.
yeah.
And what do we have for the basic vocabulary? Oh, somebody has given
Basic, we have storm,
a great.
aeroplane, and
Yes. So anything which relates to action, remember, is the basic vocabulary words.
radio.
Flying, some expressions
Mhm.
to, so all these are basic. And of course, for the domain specific, we have radar, compass, and then you have aeroplane. So these are certain domain specific words. So thank you, audience, for the wonderful responses and very quick audience, I must say, before we put in the question in the chat box, and the chat box is flooded with answer. Great, lovely interactive audience. So, okay, now it's time to move on with the benefits of using both these tools into a lesson plan. So we have number 1 on our screen, please. Yes, identifying the vocabulary level in progress, very important. So once our students are able to identify different levels of the words, so we can also assess the level of the students' progress, which is very important. That is, assessment, continuous assessment through these 2 tools. Next, we have with us on screen, that is developing understanding of complex words and usages. For example, we have given, a list of students, we have given a words list related to technical vocabulary. So now they are able to understand that this particular set of words is being used by a set of people, a set of experts. So they are able to use that to understand that word, and they can also use it in a different complex situation related to that particular vocabulary. Next, focus on specific area of language development. So different areas of language development, like we have reading, speaking, listening, writing, also morphology of the word, syntax, structure. So through these 2 tools, we can help the students to identify specific language area, and they can focus on that area as well. Next, improve retention and recall. Of course, once they have set the given list into different, genres or different tiers, so they are able to identify and recall that word later also, because this is what they have learned themselves. They have done it themselves at their own, pace. So this will help them for better retention. Next, we have identify the genre, which is very important, where the learner is able to categorize and analyze the word. Next, it is always an interactive technique that helps to make the learning environment more interactive and engaging. Then focus on descriptive vocabulary. At times, we feel that our learners are not able to express themselves. Once they have gone through a list of descriptive words, a descriptive genre. So they are able to express themselves better through emotion, using emotive words, colloquial words, and so on. Next, we have emphasis on technical vocabulary. When the learners, it is for the high grade learners also, when they, delve into their research works or, for higher studies, they need to learn a set of technical vocabulary. So this way can be used for teaching them technical vocabulary as well. So all about benefits and different three ways that we all have learned today. So that was all for all of us, and I hope we all have learned a bit of us. And I could see the answers in the chat box that people were, already mentioning Copilot, DAL-E, and so many different things that we were sharing here, and there was in the chat box itself present already. So from both of us, I think we are in the last leg of this program now, this workshop. So over to you, Priya. And it was really an interesting one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanita and Isha. Despite the technical glitch, the
Yes.
audience has been really patient and sweet, and they've engaged with the session really well.
Very kind. Thank you
Uh,
so much.